Uh-huh. Hold on. And I guess I gotta go in and find this. Go live.
So we're almost on?
How do you add a title?
Huh?
Title.
Do you need to add a title?
Parental discretion is advised.
Yeah, put parental discretion is advised. This is TV for mature audiences. Yeah.
I don't even know if I'm spelling it right.
What? Parental discretion is advised.
Doesn't matter, man.
That's probably why we shouldn't be on here, because we can't even spell stuff right.
All right. So, and then I'm gonna do. Our audio is on. I'm cutting over to the intro. We can kind of talk.
Can you pull up our? You got to pull up our thing because it's going in.
No, it's going right now. There goes.
No, but you got to pull up our
camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop hollering.
Can you do this right, or else we're gonna get a new sound guy, video guy.
We're on.
All right. Hey, it's Friday.
Friday, people.
Let's see. This is January 17th already.
2020, year of our Lord.
Is it the year of our Lord now?
Wasn't it always? Didn't you always say year of our Lord?
Yeah, but that's not appropriate today in this generation.
You don't think?
No.
I'd like to bring it back.
All right, go ahead, go for it.
2020, year of our Lord.
All right, good. So it is January 17th, Friday, and it's 10 o'clock, and this is Uneducated, where we talk about things that you don't have to be educated about to talk about. Matter of fact, you don't have to be educated to have an opinion. You don't have to be educated to talk rationally and wisely about the Bible and about everyday events. So today we have a special guest with us. This is my nephew, Brandon Westover. And so, Brandon, it's good to have you, and we're going to get into some topics with him here in just a minute. But before we do that, if you're on YouTube and you're watching from there, or if you have a chance, go to our YouTube, TheNorthEasttube, and go down to the right-hand side and click subscribe, because subscribers are good for us, and it's good for you because you'll be updated. You know, you click the little bell, and every time we have a video come up, you'll be updated to that video. All right, Matt? What's going on?
Having production problems, Brian.
Still?
Yeah, no, it's a real thing here.
Okay.
Somehow I threw a swipe on a thing.
I just like how massive we are, that we can the three of us can hardly fit on the screen together.
Right. No, this is good.
Like when we've had other guests in here, it's like really open, but we're tight.
We have a real truckload of beef.
I'm fat.
I'm fat.
Speaking of fat, Brandon, have you made any New Year's resolutions about losing some weight? Or getting into shape or anything?
I did, but it didn't work.
No? 17 days and it's gone already.
Yep.
Nice. All right.
When you speak into your microphone, you look really unnatural.
So here, just pull this. Pull that
you
baby
make
up.
It so it's more natural. So it's like in front of you, and then if it needs to be closer, pull it closer.
Okay.
There you go. Now give it a go.
You there? Good?
Yeah, we'll try
Cool.
it.
All right. So, like I said, Brandon here, he is a plumber by trade. So, Brandon, can you tell us a little bit about what you do for a living and whether you like it or not? Or,
Yeah, I'm a commercial estimator for plumbing. I work at Mac Plumbing in Chardon.
Good guys there?
Good guys there. I love the job. It's stressful. I love my bosses, my work team. Everything's good.
Cool. All right. And I heard from you, we've talked about this before, that sometimes you guys do Bible studies before work.
Yeah, we usually do them at like 6:30 in the morning to 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And then Bob pays whoever wants to come. Bob pays them from 6:30 until when it ends.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's usually like 15 to 20 people at a time.
Wow. So I asked you this before, but do you think Bob's going to have me come as a guest speaker?
I can arrange that.
Okay. And will he pay me from 6:30 until we're done? Because I would probably take us till at least noon.
Maybe.
He would do it too.
Yeah.
He'll do it.
Because then
he'll make you beg for mercy.
That's right. Because we would all get paid until 12, right?
Yeah.
And I could definitely talk about the Bible that long.
Yeah.
We'd have some good chats. All right.
I'll see if I can make it happen.
All right, sounds good. All right. right. So, speaking of New Year's resolution, what did you have a plan or no? You just thought you were going to start eating better, and then you didn't.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. And eating better for you is what? Just getting off maybe the snack foods, junk foods.
Sugar, carbs, basically.
Yeah.
Try to stay away from red meat.
Gotcha. Are you familiar with the new, well, I don't know how new it is, but the video that's kind of viral called What the Health?
Negative.
Matt's wife.
It's a Netflix thing, I think.
Okay.
And it's like, what was that one we brought up earlier?
Food Inc.
Food Inc.
Probably about 12, 15
Yeah.
years ago. You remember Food Inc.?
So basically, they do a rehash. They do a rehash of how unhealthy our food is produced, what they do to the animals, how gross all that is, and then they go into a little more in depth of how animal product is causing inflammation in our bodies and causing all the problems that we have, and why you need to eat
can see that.
vegetables. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, it's if you want to watch them drain a pig cyst on other pig meat at a pig farm, or you want to watch them grind up pigs and feed them to other pigs, this would be what you'd want to watch.
I'm
check it
gonna watch
out.
Yeah, check it out on Netflix video. The other thing is, I've been watching this Messiah, Netflix Messiah. It's called Messiah. It's a new video on Netflix series, and I'm in the 4th episode. And so
I
far,
think I just started the 4th.
yeah. And so far, the idea here is that this is the Muslim Messiah that seems to show up, and it appears that he's trying to unite every faith and every group of people around the world. So he's moved from Syria to Jerusalem to the United States now. I think. Is where he's at.
I think it's early, but I don't think it's just Muslim Messiah.
No, he wants to be everybody's Messiah, right?
So, and I think they're doing a good job of painting that out. I don't think they're doing a bad job of that necessarily. It's just that happens to be. I think that's going to be what the Antichrist is. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're just showing us a picture of the Antichrist.
Okay.
Because we all know when the Messiah comes for real for the second time, it's going to be like a flashlight with trumpets and it's over, right?
Right. For us.
If he comes, if a person is walking on the earth claiming to be the Messiah, they're the Antichrist.
Yeah. Right.
All hell's gonna break loose.
All hell's going to break loose.
Yeah.
They should put that as their tagline. Messiah, all hell's going to break loose. That would have been great.
Yeah. And yet he's showing, and this guy's showing up like Jesus did the first time, according to the Christian Bible, in this movie, Netflix, Messiah.
Well, and if you really think about it, it's the same in the Quran, and it's I believe it's the same for Mormons. Like they talk about how Jesus came back and did other things at the time he was here, right?
Right.
So that they're just doing the same thing now. Right?
Okay, yeah.
So,
all right. Shout out to Naomi. She says, good morning to all. Good morning, Naomi. It's good to see you. Hope that your day is well. David and Marie are on, and Bill Shackelford has joined, so they're
hello,
watching.
everybody.
Again, if you're just joining us and you're on YouTube, you can click the subscribe button. We have a special guest with us. This is Brandon, my nephew. And we're going to talk about a couple things today, but one of the things, since we're already talking about health, is I saw in the Jerusalem Post, December 29th, I think was the article, that Israel, a company in Israel, believes that they now have a cure for cancer. They go in and they target the cancer cell with very little, if any, toxicity to any cells around where the tumor is, and they're having like huge success rates as far as destroying the tumor and getting it out of there. So my question is this, Brandon. Do you believe that somebody has a cure for cancer? And if they do, will those people disappear and their company disappear rather quickly?
I think there is a cure.
Oh, you think there's already one out there? Like Israel's not the first one to find it?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how far it's going to go. And I do think people will die for having it.
Yeah. Would you be willing to label the American Cancer Society as the ones that will make the phone call and say we need to deal with this?
I don't know that.
Okay. All right. We're trying to be controversial here just a little bit.
Somebody will probably take them out because chemo and all that stuff is a good money maker.
It's a big business.
Yeah, huge business.
All right. So how about this? How about it's going to be allowed? They're going to have it. If they're throwing it on the news as it's a thing, they're getting ready to roll it out, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to pay to stay alive.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to depend on how affluent you are as to how alive you stay.
And insurance won't cover it.
Probably not. Or they'll cover, all right, so this is all going to be based on
sign everything
our
over.
credit rating, right?
Yeah.
If you got good credit, if you're a good functioning member of society, your insurance will pay 80%. If you're a loser with bad credit and you had previous problems, insurance will pay 30%.
Or we just let you die.
Or we'll just let you die. I mean, I was talking to Brian earlier. Did you ever see the movie The Island? There's The Island, where so The Island, affluent people grow clones of themselves.
I have not seen it.
You should watch The Island. When they when an affluent person gets a car wreck or kidney fails, whatever. They go to this place and get their clone and cut the parts out of them they need.
This is awesome.
Right? So that, I think that could exist right now.
I think so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, there's a movie called The Repo Man. Or Repo Man. I think it had Jude Law. You familiar with this one?
Negative.
Okay. In the future, and I just saw an article on this, they have a mechanical kidney now. So people on dialysis, this thing will be installed in you. Done. Dialysis no more.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe they actually have that.
Well, they were holding something on television.
Oh, all right.
It's got to be real.
They got to have it.
It's got to be true.
Be cool if there was.
Right. It'd be awesome if there is. I think that there is.
Yeah.
Like if you can, at this point of the game, like my grandfather, 21 years ago, was getting dialysis on one of them giant machines. Just in modern production and the shrinking nature of technologies versus, dollars spent and so on, we shrink everything down. There's no reason why we couldn't have taken a big dialysis machine and turned it into a small one, right?
I agree.
Okay. So, if you want this, you rent it. As long as you can pay for it. And in the Repo Men, I found it interesting that the big thing was kidneys. You would go get mechanical kidneys or replacement kidneys. When you couldn't pay for it, people busted your house in the middle of the night and cut them out of you. And then Jude Law, the flip-flop of the movie, real spoiler alert for a 12-year-old film, the real flip-flop is Jude Law becomes one of these people. And since he knows the techniques and whatever, it's the movie, he's running away from them, trying to cut his kidneys or whatever parts that he had put in.
I will check that out.
Yeah. So, these are real, all these movies. Gattaca. You've seen Gattaca.
I have not.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't watch much TV, movies very much.
Really? These are gathered over my life. It's not like I sit on a couch.
No.
You wouldn't tell from my physique, but it's true.
That's good.
Gattaca is engineered people. People don't have sex no more. And the person in the movie wants to be an astronaut, and he is one of the last people created in the back of a 73 Riviera, by the way, who has conceived naturally without being genetically modified. And so they have a label for these people, and they only get to do menial jobs on Earth. And the people who are engineered get to go to space, be engineers, So there's a whole market for people. This also stars Jude Law, interestingly enough. Jude Law's character is one of these engineered people, but he was in an accident and he's in a wheelchair. So Ethan Hawke, I think, is one of these, the kid created in the 73 Riviera. He wants to go to space and be an astronaut. So there's a black market in obtaining Jude Law's identity so that you can go function in the society. and
Trippy.
hilarity ensues.
Yeah.
There you go. The Island, the Repo Man or Repo Men, and Gattaca.
I will check those out.
It's our future.
For sure.
It's 1984 on steroids.
It is our future, and part of the problem is what we were talking about earlier today off camera, and that is that people want to hold on to their life so badly here that they'll almost do anything
To preserve it.
to keep it.
Well, so this is our society now, right? Like if you want, we were talking about the $12 bacon. If you want good food that's grown naturally, like God intended, it's $12 for a pound of bacon grown like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, my gosh, why is it so expensive? Well, what if bacon costs $12 because that's accounting for the inflation that the money changers, the Illuminati, the one world system has brought to us, right? Our money, like our money system, and this is, I'd like to reference your nephew last weekend, Garrett.
I got a lot of nephews.
You have a lot of family on this show.
This is family-run show.
It's a family business.
There's a lot of family business, if you know what I mean.
So, isn't it interesting that our society is run to where you're just out of grasp of doing anything good? Like you make just enough money to want more money, right? or need just a little more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also
A function of how you take care of money.
correct.
Okay.
And how bad you want something.
And how bad you want something, but do you ever for the common man or the common individual,
They like to live average, and
they like to they like to live average and whatever, but the society is rigged so that there's no incentive to be awesome. There's no incentive to.
what's your incentive mean?
There's nothing striving you to be great, create, innovate. Feminism, I think, has crushed the spirit of the souls of men. And
I agree.
So men aren't men, and we are all on an economic wheel of survival. Right?
Yeah, like for instance, let's just get this out, and this is not to be derogatory, but there is this idea that the home, like for a wife or for a family, the home should have, 2.5 kids, a dog, a picket fence. It should be a 2-car garage. You should have 2 cars. And so then the people of this society, especially sometimes females, say, well, that's the way our home needs to be, run. But then when the husband's out working a ton of hours, which I get it, he should be home hanging out with the kids. But when they want a certain lifestyle, they say, you need to work, 80 hours a week in order to give me this lifestyle. But then we whine and moan because he's not home. Or husband and wife both go to work,
right?
And they're busting their tails.
I guess that's what I'm saying. We now live in most cases you have to have a 2-income household.
Right.
So
you got 2 incomes,
and the women are being encouraged to go live on this rat wheel, right? Because it's no longer.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to want that stuff.
What do you mean? Well, all right.
What do you mean by bad, Brandon?
Yeah.
I mean, if someone wants to live above average and they do any means necessary to get there, whether that's extra work, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, if that's your goal, fine. But then here's the problem: everybody wants to have their cake and eat it too, so they want to do that, and then they want to complain that we don't have any time to spend together.
We don't have a family life.
We don't have a family life.
It's not fashionable for a woman to stay home and bake bread and take care of the kids and have a bow in her hair when you come home. And
it should be one or the other then.
Yeah, I think people have to be
satisfied. No, I don't think it. I think that we used to have a society where it didn't have to be. Like, if a 40s. If a woman wants to go work, go work.
Right.
And if you want to have a dual, I'm not advocating like whatever, and I think women should be in dresses and so on and so on. But what I'm saying is like
they do look pretty in dresses, though.
They do.
That's nice.
Well, God did make them
dresses,
pleasant for the man's eye.
Well, you realize that in Genesis chapter 3, after the fall, what Adam had a fig leaf, but Eve obviously had a dress.
Yes,
She would have
a
had
Bob Jones full length from
Something.
the neck to the ankles dress.
at least, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Now that we got that out of the
We're
way.
getting out, but I guess what I'm saying is, do you realize how much more independence a freedom that people used to have, where the husband, think about the 40s and the 50s. A husband used to go have a job, pay for the house, pay for the family car. They went to church. They had time to do what they wanted to do. They had Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. Mom used to be able to stay home, take care of the kids, take care of the home, and that suited people fine from the head right down to their feet, right? Now,
People want material.
some people, they don't. Well, I don't think you don't have that choice a lot of times. Like, even if you just, I think that there's a lot of places, and this is where I think we get a lot of the headbutting with the different races and cultures, is like, depending on where you are socioeconomically, you may have to have both of you working if you can't secure, you're not in an area with good tech jobs, high-paying jobs. You don't have the money to move. Like, this is the part of the social justice equation that it's the straw man that they hang all this on, right? This is their excuse of why the white man is out to keep the black man down. But I don't think it is anything to do with color. I think it has to do with the masses, to keep the masses down. And so, I don't remember where we were going with all this, but we're talking about so the health thing is going to be the kidney, the cure for cancer, the whatever. If you are wealthy, you're going to live a long time.
Absolutely.
If you are not wealthy, you're going to eat poison food and die when you're 37.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's population management.
Yep.
It's communism.
Communism.
All
All right. Well, Brandon, one of the things I wanted to ask you about today while we're on the show is a little bit about now that we got the serious stuff out of the way. Ladies, you work all you want, but, men and ladies both, listen, if you're going to work your tails
Don't preach
off,
at church.
don't complain that you don't have any time, because that's why you work. When you work a lot, you don't have any time. So there has to be a happy balance. You have to decide whether you want something so badly you're going to work for it and then you can't enjoy it anyway, or whether you want to take a little less and at least enjoy it while you're here. I guess that's where you have to decide some things.
Have no time and be financially free.
Yeah.
Have no time.
Is that a that's almost like an oxymoron, right? Because you're financially free to do whatever you want, but you can't do whatever you want because you have no time.
But if you get financially free in a certain period of time, you will have time.
Okay, that's like a Dave Ramsey thing, yeah. So if you work your tail off, that's a possibility. You're shooting for that goal. I get it. All right, so with that out of the way then, Brandon, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on faith and church and God. Do you believe? Where are you kind of at in that journey?
I do believe, I guess.
You believe that I'm awesome, or what? What exactly?
You're pretty awesome. Sometimes. I do believe, but I don't believe I have received.
I was going to turn the microphone towards your face.
Yeah. I'm not natural with this, so,
No.
which is fine.
It's also a weird microphone.
Yeah.
We have not gotten everybody these fine designer podcast
This
microphones.
is the low rent section.
This
It
is the
is.
low rent. This
Yeah.
is the hey. If you make it, you get one of these.
Yeah, this is how we treat our guests. We give them that junk mic. Actually, the guest just has to sit in the middle, I guess. So we could put you on the outside. You want to come on the outside?
I'm good.
All right.
All right. So you believe? What do you believe?
I believe that there is a creator, and I don't know what the creator is yet.
Do you think that the creator set the world a spinning and then walked away?
I can't say that. I don't know.
Do you think that...
I know there is a higher power. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I've felt it before or I've asked to feel it. I've cried out in prayer, but I don't believe I've received any direct...
You haven't got any confirmation or denial of said being.
Correct. And that's hard for me.
It's hard for you that you feel like you've gotten nowhere with it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And necessarily, I don't do this stuff every day, or I don't go to church every Sunday or read my Bible as much as I should.
I don't either.
So, my
You and Matt
life...
could hang out together.
Yeah, we should hang out.
So, I do want to learn more and obviously get where I need to go. But like you said earlier, life kind of takes over. Life gets in the way, work gets in the way.
So...
And that's not an excuse.
Okay. But, I mean, you would say... So you would... I guess you're making the choice. I'm just going to say out loud what I think I heard you say. You're making the choice to put whatever it is that you find important in life over
First.
figuring out if there's a God or not.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything in you that makes you make that number two? Like, why do you think that is?
Think what? Think what
Why
is?
that you make that? Let's just say God's number two.
I'm not saying he's number two. It's just I have...
Well, that's the best spot he can.
Yeah.
It's the best spot he can be.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
So, what has?
Why it's number two is because, like I previously mentioned, I haven't felt nor received anything that makes me feel different.
Okay, that makes sense. It's logical.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let me ask this question then: If you were presented with an understanding of who God was from a rational standpoint, and yet didn't feel anything, and it made sense to you, do you think you'd be able to believe, or do you think you have to feel something in order to believe?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And the main thing is everybody wants it now, and I think I'm one of those persons. You know, I want to, if I'm crying out to somebody and spilling my guts, you would think you would hear something back.
Okay.
But I don't know how that stuff works. I'm not really involved in religion other than bits and pieces here and there.
Would you be willing to entertain the thought that maybe one of the reasons, not just you, but any of us, can't hear is because we are so busy?
Correct.
And then number two, that we don't really know what we're listening for sometimes.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I mean,
trying to find that out. I mean, it's
right.
Impossible for me, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe not impossible, but hard.
No, I hear you. I hear you. And I think that's, too, part of the reason why I love so much talking about the Scriptures and talking about God with people is because I don't know that, I don't feel, I used to, in the beginning of my Christian walk, Christians would tell me, oh, you got to get people saved, you got to get people saved. And I agree 100%. I want people to find salvation in Christ, the salvation that I have found to be a rational understanding of who God is. It makes total sense to me. Do I get it right all the time? No, not even that much that I would like to get it right. Do I have doubt still sometimes? Yes. I mean, I've looked at Christians sometimes in a small group setting, and I've said stuff like, I struggle with anxiety and doubt sometimes. And one Christian looked at me and goes, how could you do that? You're a Christian. And I'm like, well, every Christian has doubts. And sometimes, those Christians that are saying that to me, I'm going, well, you might not have any doubts, but you sure aren't living the way, I would expect a Christian to live. So you're judging me for my doubts, and then that pulls in it. So I think it's okay for people to take time to walk through their faith, because then when they figure it out, I think that's when it's a real change in their life. Like, I would rather see someone take time to figure this out and then come to the right conclusion, as opposed to coming in here going, oh, I guess I'm supposed to say a prayer and now I'm saved and I'm supposed to come to church and raise my hands and do this and that, and yet they don't really live the way God is telling them to live. Does that make sense?
Yep. And I don't live very Christian-like, you know what I mean, or however you want to call it. So, but I do try to do right and do what's good for others and by others. You know?
Yeah. And that's a good quality to have. It's a good quality trait to have. That's matter of fact, some Christians would say that the reason you have that moral framework isn't just because you were taught it somewhere. It's because God has put it in us somewhere.
Right.
And part of that image. And he calls us to live by that. Okay.
All right, so I have a question. If it bugs you that you haven't got an answer and you haven't seen any whatever, but you've made it. I'm gonna go back to this number 2 thing without it being annoying. But
You're good.
But it's not. It's not important. Like one of the concepts or precepts, or one of the things that you have to understand is, if you had a being that created you, then you are obligated to understand why in the world it is you are here first.
Yeah.
Before you
It's
do
very
all of
interesting.
your other
Yep.
things, right?
Yep.
So if you put that in the number 1 spot, what if you could put that in the number 1 spot, and then your number 1 spot then took care of itself, and all other spots of your life took care of itself? You know, number 1, that's appealing. Number 2, I feel like I'm obligated to understand this creator that is the Lord of my life. And when you start to, I guess if you just walk forward going, all right, I don't know how that component's going to fit. I don't know. All right, you say I got to do that. I'm just going to walk and do that. I'm going to read the Bible. I'm going to sing God's songs. I'm going to think about, don't even call it praying. Just think about the concept of a God over your life. I think you start opening this thing up.
Yeah, you open some doors up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It's interesting to me.
It is.
And I wonder how many people that's how this is in their life. You know, and I think it's a symptom of New Ageism. Okay, the New Age philosophy almost made this like a thing that you obtain and you seek after if you have time, right? Whereas the reality of it is no, God is the Lord of your life in this universe, whether you want to obtain it or not. And like it's there for you to just use in conjunction with the rest of your life. You know what I mean? It becomes, it's not just an item like meditating. It's not just an item like I'm spiritual. It is who you are,
right?
As it were, you know. So
I definitely would like to learn and explore new things like that,
right?
And new avenues,
right?
And probably make time for it instead of wasting on other time in the garage or wherever the hell I'm doing.
All right, so I guess maybe that's where I'm not being clear. The way I see it, the way I live it, when I'm in the garage, I'm dealing with it. Like no matter what I'm doing in the garage, whether I'm with my kids, without my kids, whether I'm sitting out there.
So you're constantly thinking about it.
I can't not be in connection with the creator of the universe. You can't. You just don't realize it.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because and when you think you're in connection with God,
right?
What does that connection feel like? Or do you just think you have a connection? Or, I mean, I'm not understanding you.
Yeah, okay. So
you know?
I guess what I'm saying is like there isn't there isn't a thing.
I don't know what your connection is.
Right.
You know,
And
because I haven't felt it.
You haven't felt it. Well,
Can I throw in a thought?
yeah, go.
I think the difference for maybe Matt and myself would be that we have already decided that our connection is through the person of Jesus Christ. And so we have made a choice to believe and trust that God came as a man. He lived a perfect life. He died on a cross and gave his life in my place so that now, instead of me having to die, I can now have new life in him. So we've accepted that. So now once we've accepted that, now I can go and spend time with my kids, trusting that this God is with me no matter what that feels like. So sometimes what will happen is I'm hanging out with my kids and they act like total crazos and I end up blowing my top with them. Now, what does that feel like for me? That feels like for me is I go, oh, conviction, because although my kids deserve discipline, I didn't need to blow my stack the way I did. So then I go back to God and I have a conversation with him and I say, Lord, I know that's not the way I was supposed to act. Would you forgive me, number one, and would you help me to be a better father that can discipline his kids without blowing his top? So to me, I've already made that decision that that's where my relationship is started. It's almost like getting married. Like
so blowing your top on your kids is wrong?
I think it's wrong if I do it.
If you do it in anger.
If I do it in anger.
Right. Not in a spirit of correction and trying to raise your child in the way they should go. And so here you go. I have the benefit of being raised this way, right? So I'm no Bible theologian, and I don't read my Bible enough. Or often enough, okay?
Neither do I.
All right. Here's the thing. I've been doing it since I was like in 4th grade. I get a piece here and a piece there and a sermon there. I have a Bible app that brings me a verse a day.
You collect.
You have right. I've got
pieces of your puzzle.
41 years of collecting.
Right. Now you're putting together the puzzle.
You have to catch up.
Right.
So you're probably going to have to at some point say, you know what? I'm going to sit down and read a paragraph, a chapter, or whatever, right?
Right.
You wouldn't know. You're not going to know. And this is another thing with coming and hearing the word at a church on Sunday. You're not going to know that not blowing your stack on your kid in anger is the right or wrong thing to do unless you have an article or someone tell you, like, don't do that in anger. So you really... You're a human being, so you have talent for being a human being, but now to develop that talent, you have to go work with a coach, right?
Correct.
Okay. So because there isn't anything in life that doesn't work that way.
So what I'm saying is Jesus is already my coach.
Right.
So for
and
me,
how do we get Jesus?
Yeah, and for me it feels different every time. Sometimes it feels like conviction. Sometimes it feels like encouragement. Sometimes I walk away from a situation with my family or my wife, or maybe hanging out with you or something, and I go, wow, God, that was really good. Thank you for that. So I think it feels different.
I do feel conviction if I do something wrong.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right.
And
I believe that's the Holy Spirit.
I messed up or
okay,
whatever, or I shouldn't have flicked this person off on the road. I feel bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it happens.
Uh-huh.
And
so you already have things when you do things you're like, I shouldn't have done that, or when you...
Yeah, I know the difference between right and wrong, you know what I mean, in my heart.
Yeah, right. It's just you haven't chosen to say, I need a coach to help me to do the right instead of the wrong. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I'm a tough one to crack here.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Well, we're not trying to crack you. We're just trying to pick your brain.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that,
why?
Then
I guess I don't want you to feel like we're putting you under the red lamp. Here.
I like the red lamp.
So let me ask you this then. Could you help us understand this? We'll change gears just a little bit then. Is there anything in the church or among Christian people that would discourage you from saying, you know what, I think I'd like to pursue that Jesus guy and I'd like to have him as a coach and do this stuff, but you know what? The stuff I've seen, it's garbage. What? Anything?
Say that again, Brian.
Well, like, is there anything in the Christian community, the church, or Christians that you know that would discourage you from saying, I think Jesus would be a good guy to coach my life, and I think it would be good to follow him and see what he has in store for me. But you know what? Because of what I've seen or what I've heard or experienced, I don't want nothing to do with that.
No. I think a lot of people in church will judge you.
Okay.
Because I'm going to talk the way I talk, and if people don't like it, you know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
And that's what I have a problem with, like in churches or whatever. Like at Bob's Bible study, it's open, it's raw, and it's like you got 20, 25 guys in there that are
Talking like they're in a locker room?
correct.
Okay.
And
that's good.
I like that. I like the raw material. And then Bob will come in and do his thing, and you know, I think people need more of the raw, and a lot of people are soft.
I would agree with you. That's why we put parental discretion as advised today. Because this might be a little raw. But here's the thing. I think that's why the church has missed the boat. Because, for instance, if somebody were coming to church as a new guest,
And they say, "Oh,
like,
what the F?"
Oh yeah, or somebody, even if they just
And then
come
they're
and
gonna
say,
go, "Oh,
yeah, what if someone shook my hand and said,
Well, who are you?
Brian, how the hell are you doing, Brian? And some other church person goes, oh, they said that in the church, you know. And all of a sudden, people start. Now he feels like, oh, I can't be who I am. I think people have to.
that shuns me away from a church."
Like, I just wonder if Peter and those guys, like, and I'm not saying at all. I'm not trying to say that having a mouth that's a potty mouth is a good thing.
No,
But what I'm saying is, if that's where people are at, don't we have to meet them where they're at?
absolutely.
I think that's key.
Yeah.
So no matter where you're at, we have to be where you're at. But then at the same time, why are we always so offended by that kind of stuff as Christians? That doesn't make sense to me.
No, because 8 out of 10 of us go home and do that anyway.
I do.
I have.
I always do.
Okay.
I will today.
Parents, please take your children from the room right now. No,
And
I'm just joking.
it also depends on what your environment is. I mean, I think you're in a more clean atmosphere than me.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, because I'm dealing with,
You're just dealing with
yeah.
the people in your church, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm in a way different atmosphere.
Yeah.
Construction talk. I mean, it.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I'm not even worried about the language part. The language part's like the last thing that bothers me. For me personally, when I came to know Christ, I decided I was going to follow him. The first thing that left me was my potty mouth, and I had a bad mouth. That's the first thing that left me. That
So
doesn't.
are you going to hell because you swear and curse?
Well, that's the
Someone going to
thing.
hell?
That's the thing. We talked to Stephen Manley about this a little bit, and the question is, you know, why are you speaking that way? What's coming out of your heart? Those kind of things we talked about. But I would be more concerned, like, where the heart is of people to love other people. Where's their heart in that? Not so much of like whether they drop a certain word here and there or whatever, but how are they loving other people, and how are they living in obedience to Christ? Like, if Christ were to come down and speak to you right now and say, Brandon, there's a person broke down on the side of the road. I want you to go help that person. Now, I'm not saying that makes you saved, but if you were to obey his voice in that, I'd be better about that than having somebody come into the church who has a clean mouth and then drives by the person. Even though Jesus is saying, listen,
Right.
you got to stop and help that. They drive by because all they care about is themselves. But they don't swear. Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
And I'm not saying stopping and helping that person saves you.
Here's the thing, too. I think that you're looking at this like as if you do anything about any of these things. Number one, doesn't it almost take just as much judgment to judge the people who are judging you? When you're like, well, don't judge me, judgy Judgerton.
I'm not really judging the person. I just.
Well, you have a judgment about the church. You don't want to come here and get judged, so you're making the judgment that you're going to walk into a church and get judged. Because I got a feeling that you will find a church, if it's not this one, that you would feel comfortable at.
Right.
Okay.
I agree with that.
All right. So number two, number one, you're making a judgment that So there's a lot of that going around. And then number two, I don't know if you like swearing or not, but if it's swearing, if it's impure thoughts, if it's addiction, if it's and any of these things, you don't get rid of it. It's by following and serving Christ. And this is why I think it's so important that, you make this idea number one in your life, because he will get rid of it for you. You won't do anything. It'll leave you. The reason why...
So if I chose not to swear from this day forward for
you're
a
not
year...
You're not going to choose. You're going to fail. This is why New Year's resolutions fail.
I think that could be done.
Okay, but even if you did, you're not going to heaven just because you choose not to swear.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
So for me, it's more important that someone...
I can choose to do things when I want it.
No, I agree. You could be a pretty good person.
Right. I can choose what to do and what not to do.
Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be right in the eyes of God. Doesn't make you saved.
Nope.
So that, to me, that's what's most important, is getting somebody into a relationship with Christ so that Christ can change their life.
Well, I guess that was the point I was trying to make. Mm-hmm. Is I will argue I don't think that you can change it. I think you can have appearances. But one thing I've noticed over my 41 years, that stuff comes back in, and it comes back in twice as strong. You
get with the right people, you probably start swearing, maybe. Or maybe you'll choose not to.
It'd be no different than me quitting chewing for a year.
Right,
probably,
right.
You know?
Do you realize you have a tobacco product in the church?
I do. Is that not allowed?
Just joking.
We're asking for sponsors for Copenhagen.
Well, listen. I gotta. Just as we're talking about this, Mitch from California. Hey, is any of the wildfires close to you? Oh, that was Australia.
That's Australia.
Yeah, but they were burning pretty good, and they were burning pretty hot in California for a while.
Do you think some sparks will jump Australia and head to California?
They might.
I hope so.
I hope so.
Over the Caspian Sea.
You're good at geography.
That's your geography lesson for today.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
So Mitch says, member hypocrisy has always been the argument from onlookers when it comes to the church. No question mark. I think you're right. Matter of fact, I just had a conversation with a young man yesterday who is struggling to believe, doesn't really know what he believes about God and about Jesus and those kind of things. So we sat and talked for about an hour and a half. And one of the things that he says he struggles with is the hypocrisy of people who say they're following this Jesus, and that you're supposed to be good and kind to people, and yet they're not good and kind to people. And so it is a struggle. Now you're saying that you don't necessarily see a lot of Christians like not doing what they're supposed to be doing, but you feel like when you come into the church, the scary thing is that you might just get judged because of who you are.
Well, I'm not scared.
Not scared.
To
I'm sorry.
Be judged. I really don't care what.
But it's uncomfortable. Yeah.
No, it's not uncomfortable for me. It's. I don't know. It's not uncomfortable.
Okay.
It's just. I'd rather have a real person than.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. So pretty much, so this is an interesting point then. So do you think your generation of people, the reason they don't go to church is because they'd rather hang out with people who are at least real and want to address and talk about the issues, instead of somebody saying, oh, I have to do this and this and this.
Maybe.
I have to follow the law, and because I follow the law, I really can't hang out with you because you're not following the law. That's interesting.
And that might burn a lot of, bridges for them or whatever.
That's an interesting thought.
Well, then we'll just make the argument. You should come to church, because
I should.
Those people are all really old and they're going to die soon. So it'll be cleared out.
All right, now here's the other thing I want to make a
wrong?
note. This is my personal.
Really changing gears. Is that wrong?
No, this is my personal observation though. The old people that are dying out, there's some really good stuff that we need to learn from them before they leave this planet. And one of those things is that they did have a standard for living. I think today the younger generation who's coming to conversion experiencing Christ, I think a lot of those conversion experiences, I'm not going to say they're false, but I think they're misguided. And that's this, that you can come to know Christ and have a relationship with him and go to heaven when you die, but your life does not have to change. And I think if you come to know Christ, your life should be transformed. I think if you read the scriptures, Christ is going to change who you are as a person. And I don't think we should stand for anything less than Christians who believe that their life should be transformed by knowing God. If my life isn't being transformed by knowing God, then I'll just go out and worship Buddha. I'll just go out and be a part of the YMCA.
People want to feel the transformation.
Right, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think the feel is in how I live. So, for instance, Brandon, when I am dealing with my boys, I don't think it's anything wrong with me getting upset with what they're doing because what they're doing is wrong. But I don't think I should ever be like, how stupid was that? Don't you know what you're, and then just act and treat them in such a way that it breaks their spirit or hurts their spirit. I think there's a better way for me to handle that. And I think when I don't handle it right, that's when God comes and says, hey, you didn't handle that right. So I can do something like this. Hey, that's wrong. You need to stop that. There's nothing wrong with me being upset, being aggressive. Maybe isn't the right word, but being at least assertive. Yeah, I need to be assertive and strong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's what.
But if I hurt them in that, like because of my words or something, then that's when God comes to me and says, "Hey, that's not right."
Right.
So that's what I kind of meant when I was talking about that.
Gotcha.
Because if my boys are going to grow up like little women, I shouldn't say that's wrong, right? But they're going to grow up.
I
like
don't
little
have a
girls.
problem with that.
They're going to become a Natalie and a Brianna. If I go, okay, boys, now just settle down now, don't do that.
Well, all right. So I think this. Oh, I still haven't seen that ad, by the way.
You haven't seen the ad?
No, I know you sent it to me. I haven't watched it.
We should pull it up.
Let's watch it.
I'll pull it up and show it. Should I send you the link?
Huh?
Should I send you the link?
Hold
on, I'll find it.
Are we gonna watch it on the YouTube?
I don't know. Is it possible? We can. It's not like.
No, we can. I just need the URL.
Oh, you know what? It's not. You don't even have to watch on YouTube. You can just go and get.
How many for $12.99?
Hold on. Oh,
they make pads too.
These are. Do they call them mampons?
Huh?
They call them mampons.
It's menstruation think. Here it is.
Is this a real thing?
Yeah, it aired in October on national television. We talked about this last week. Chicago Tribune. Hold on, let me go back here. Here it is. Here's the link. I'll send you the link. How can I send you the link?
Send it to the church email.
The church email?
Mm-hmm.
All right, hold on. I'm sending a link. So you guys can discuss something else here while or maybe we just keep discussing this. I think it's crazy, our society and what we're going through with guys. So even boys, I think as dads, we need to be assertive and strong and firm with them.
Yeah.
But I still think that Jesus comes to us and says, listen, you can be strong and assertive, but you don't have to break their spirit. You don't have to hurt them in the process. You treat them with respect. Just because they're your kids, don't treat them like a dog or something, That's just my opinion, my thought on that.
Well, we confuse hard love or hard knocks or. Well, I think what we really want to do is teach our kids the reality of the world, right?
Yeah.
Like the harshness of it.
Yeah.
But that's gone awry from the non-believer not being able to convey that the reason it's harsh is because there's sin in the world. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you sending me something?
So but listen, you only want to show like the first 30 seconds or so, because the one spot at the end is it's a guy and a girl together. And
wait, I gotta drive this?
Huh? Yeah, but you only want to show. And listen, all right, so November 12th of 2019, all right? This is from the Chicago Tribune, all right? Question mark, tampons in men's restrooms, activists, schools, and businesses are serving the menstrual needs of those who don't identify as women. So here's the thing, and this is what, Brandon, you and I were thinking, okay, for men, but that's the weird thing. The commercial had men in it, all right? But here's what's happening.
Do you want me to play this?
You can play. Go ahead and play the first.
Well, I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and discuss. I'm sorry.
So here's what we think's going on, and this is what I think maybe April, when I was having the discussion with her, she brought this out, and I think she's right, and this article seems to show it. What's happening now? Women that are identifying as men, they need to be able to walk into the men's restroom, and if they need something because they're still technically women biologically, but they're identifying as men, they're going to need to get a sanitary napkin or whatever they need, to deal with their menstrual cycle.
But it shows a guy having a menstrual cycle.
Right. So that's the weird thing about this commercial, and this is the feminizing of men. It's the idea that people have no idea what their identity is. They want to identify with anything and everything now. And so that's part of the issue here. We're dealing with a society of people that do not want to understand and accept the fact that they were created as a man or a woman.
I don't know where that desktop went.
And to me, that's just ludicrous. It's nuts. To live in a society, I mean, if you were to bring my dad back, he would probably be like flipping in his grave. Because that you would
Choking
never have
people
thought.
out.
Yeah, you would have never thought of that kind of stuff back in the day.
Okay,
Where the hell do you put a tampon in a guy?
Well, that's what doesn't make any sense.
That's the whole point. They're not. See, I think like this Tribune here, this Chronicle, this Tribune, Chicago Tribune, is making the case that this is to make women who have made the switch to the male identity, they want to identify as a male, to make them feel comfortable.
Now I understand what's being laid down.
No, that's the problem, though. The commercial actually has little 12-year-old men or boys and then grown men in this commercial, which is really odd for this commercial. It's very strange. Very strange.
Why does it want me to sign in? I just want that
So for those of you watching on YouTube and Facebook, the reason we're bringing this out is that this is real life stuff. I mean,
I don't have this power.
You might say, we just want to talk about the stuff that kind of makes us feel good. And listen, our world is being taken hostage by people who believe, number one, that if there is a God, it's a God who gives them their demands and what they want, and they can live their life however they want. Or there is no God at all, and they can identify with whatever they want to identify with. And I'm telling you, it's going to destroy our society as a whole. I don't see any other way around it. It's going to destroy our society as a whole. I mean, Okay, so this is, just show like the first maybe 10, 15 seconds of it, because at the end there's a scene that's not healthy if someone else would be on there.
All right, I'm going to cut over, and I'm going to play.
Are we going to get judged for watching this?
But it's a kid.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah,
So it's like a teenager boy.
I think I got my period.
Should be playing. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
All right, so we could probably stop it there.
All right. Oh heavens.
Now you might say,
his
what?
Dad tells him it's okay. Here you go.
All right, so that would mean, going with what you were saying,
Right.
that you had a daughter who now thinks it's a man, but yet is still having periods.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use boy ponds. Is that what we're saying?
Supers.
Well, that's so. So think about this, gentlemen. Think about this. We are living in a culture now that is going on. We are living in a culture now that is going on national TV and telling our young children and our adult population that this is okay behavior. And yet, as a church, we're going, wait a minute, we shouldn't even be talking about this stuff. We should just let it be. I think
this I couldn't even. All right, so you put it together in my mind to make it make sense, because I thought this was a joke. Okay, because like you said, where does a guy stick this thing? And it has nothing to do with a guy. No. You're still female.
Right.
You just think you're a guy.
And Mitch has given us some info here. He says, you guys are assuming. Let's see here. You guys are assuming wrong. All the guys in the videos are females, and he says transgender, laugh
Yes.
out loud, kind of crazy.
No.
It is
Now
kinda
I
crazy.
get it now.
Yeah.
No, now I understand.
Okay.
I'm fully up to speed.
Right.
But because we can't just have a. All right, I'm going to try and make it nice. Tampons are normally advertised with women, but because we don't want to infuriate a woman who thinks he's a man, we're making woman. Like, this is a crazy world.
It is
I
crazy.
don't even know what to say.
It is, and Mitch gives us this insight, which he's right on the money, which is what April was telling me the other night when we were talking about it here. I don't know, last week maybe, I guess. Just the thought of living in a culture that is priming us to be okay with this blows my mind. Totally blows my mind. And as a Christian, we say, do we have any voice in that? Well, I think the only voice we should have is the voice of reason that says we need to speak loudly in love and rationally with truth that says, listen, if you are biologically a man, you are a man. If you are biologically a woman, you're a woman. I don't know how we get...
It's like the 23rd.
Well, just because...
Right?
Right?
Your DNA.
That makes you a man or a woman?
I'm pretty sure.
Cut it out.
Yeah, no, it is a... Listen, it's a thing. Like, it's biology and chemistry that, like, you are a boy or you are a girl.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But since society can't just say, no, you're not anymore. But that's what we've done.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But and so to carry this back to just living within, because all this stuff ties together with to me and Garrett with communism.
That was last week. If you want to check that out last week.
Go watch last week.
And listen,
Garrett has to come back.
Yeah, and before Matt gets on that, it is 11:02, so we're going just a little bit over today. But if you are not a subscriber, go to our YouTube channel, The Northeast Tube, and click the button in the lower right-hand corner and subscribe to our channel.
Please.
All right, so go.
And tell all your friends. So if you like this concept or this notion of globalists or people that love this world, which were Marxists, Leninists, and New Age, like all of these things tie together. All of these things are antichrist. All of these things that aren't Christ are worldly and love this world. And so in order to make everybody the same, in order to make everybody equal, they're even going to erasing the sexes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is. Like, I can't even, like, my mind's blown because I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And now I realize, like, no, that's a genuine marketing campaign.
Okay, check this out. Genesis chapter 2, it says that man and woman were together, they were both naked, and they were not ashamed. Okay? And so people look at that like they used to look at that, and they go, we shouldn't be ashamed of our bodies. We should be able to run around, at nude beaches and naked. And nobody should have a problem with that. And in Germany, they do it, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they were unashamed. The reason they were unashamed and naked is because they had no perversion of their sexuality at that point. Now enter in Genesis chapter 3, and the woman has just partaken of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Her eyes have been opened now to evil, and the first thing that was perverted was their sexuality, because it says that now they hid themselves.
They knew they were naked.
They knew they were naked, and they hid themselves.
Right.
And even God, when he comes down, Adam tells him, God says, why were you hiding? And Adam says, well, because we were naked. And God says, who told you you were naked?
Right.
That there should have never been a problem with your nakedness. Now, it's not even about our nakedness.
No, nakedness is the easy thing.
It's the easy thing now.
Right. Yeah, no, like, listen, you can't go anywhere. Well, we're watching the commercials in the garage. They're advertising plus-size undergarments with the women wearing them on an ad on television. So you're pretty much, it'd be like seeing a woman in a bikini or whatever. My wife was like, and I'm like, well, why is it a shock? We look at women in bikinis on beaches, and one of them was a woman. Her kid was eating breakfast, and she's sitting there with her jeans and a bra on, and my wife goes, "Who does that?
Right?
Like, how is that even a thing?" But I think there are people that do, because it's such a not thing any longer. Like, that's the easy part. We are now at, we need men-based tampon commercials to aim at the not men.
Well, I would even go so far as to say, and people may totally disagree with this, but a mom who would sit at the breakfast table in her underwear with her children, especially if the children are male and older, maybe not a female, young
Right.
female, but a male and older, I would say that could possibly, depending on the attitude, that could be a passive molestation type of thing. And what that means is that the molestation isn't coming from the person doing something to the child, but the person allowing the child to visibly see things that the child should not be seeing
Right.
at that age, you know,
Right.
and those kind of things. And so people might disagree with me, but you can talk to a counselor and find that out. That is true. There is such a thing as passive molestation. So Mitch has just a couple thoughts real quick, and we'll get out of here. Mitch says that's so far-reaching. I'm not sure what comment he thought was so far-reaching, but Mitch, tell all your friends to subscribe, because that means that we'll have some good conversations in the future, especially when we talk about some other stuff. Rachel said the huge problem is this: if you say anything against any of this, you are the problem, when in reality the issue is there are two genders, male and female, and that's it. So that was her comment. Joe, good to see you. Joe just signed on and is watching now. And so I think we've probably blown up enough stuff today.
Well, we have four watchers on YouTube today too.
Oh,
This
wow.
has been an explosive day for us.
Yeah, it is explosive.
And my dad says he just had a couple comments.
Okay.
Accepting the Lord is a transformation, just like a dirty vessel. It gets cleaned by scrubbing. This is a process. The more the Lord puts in you, you are changed and cleaned like a vessel. Ephesians 4:19 through 23. And he also said, it's crazy. Many commercials and programs today display sodomites openly.
Wow.
They do.
Sodomites.
And I was talking to somebody, and we were talking about Netflix shows that we like to watch. And I'm trying to remember. I won't promote the show. They like to watch this show, and they're like, the only thing that they really didn't like about it was that at one point one of them goes through like a previous time sequence in their mind, and it's two dudes, and they were like, that was uncomfortable, and I don't know why it was there.
Right.
So it's at least on our TV shows and movies, like, you know.
Right.
And how many, you know, I think, isn't there women kissing on the new Star Wars? I'm pretty sure. And it's everywhere. It's becoming overnight. A decade ago, this wasn't here.
Yeah.
I know that you're cringing.
No, I'm not. Here's my thought. Like, we just got done saying as a church, we should not. We should figure out a way not to be offended if someone comes in and drops some swear words. Right.
At this point, I'm not offended.
Right,
I'm offended.
Okay.
Because like,
it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. Let's put it this way. I'm
I
offended.
could care less.
All right, you could care less. I guess it's offensive because it's just wrong. It's not. It's a sin. It's not right. So
I think it's wrong, and I just could really care less what other people do.
Okay. All right.
very libertarian. I'm fine with it because I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'd rather
I'd rather see a female and a man doing that versus than, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
kissing.
I know what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Oops, sorry, microphone. No, I know what you're saying, and I agree. But I guess where I'm at, and we'll just to address the thing, I don't. If they want to come to a church, if they want to get married, we're watching it on our televisions, we're doing all these things. This kind of addresses what we were talking about earlier, where Christ is the one that cleans these things out of you. These things will go away in a more Christian culture. The reason that they're here is because the culture is devoid of Christ. I mean, that's the end of the story. Right?
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So that's all I would say there. I'm not judging. It's offensive to me because I know it's sinful. But then you're right. This would go to Mitch in the hypocrisy. I may watch things on television that you won't watch. Mm-hmm. That I go, well, yeah, I know that's there.
Yeah, right.
So, but I don't think that makes me a hypocrite.
Yeah.
These just become the levels at which I can stand these things.
Okay. All right.
And so I'm not judging. Okay, there's homosexuality in the world. Yeah, no, big deal.
Yeah, I could care less.
I think it's a symptom of a lack of Christ and a lack of understanding Christ is what's going on there.
Yeah.
And if we want that to go away,
Yeah.
we pray for people to get Christ.
Yeah.
And when people get Christ, that will go away.
Yeah, and the other thing too that maybe I should make clear, at least from my comment, and that was this: that in the Garden of Eden in chapter 3, when sexuality was perverted, I'm not saying the only perversion of sexuality is a female identifying as a male or a transgender, or for instance a gay man or a lesbian female. I'm not saying that those are the only perversions. I'm saying that sexuality itself as a whole has been perverted, and I think all of us need to get a new look from a godly biblical perspective of what sexuality really is. Truly, we need to look at that we need to have good, truthful discussion about that. We need to see what it really is in an honest way. And then I think, as a whole, myself included, even as a husband of one wife, okay, I think I need to learn better what the purity of my sexuality and the sexuality of my wife is. Because I think even people who are married in a monogamous relationship still struggle with sexual perversions.
Okay, so the idea that, and we've talked about this before, because I'm a Christian, I'm married, and I have a wife, but you can still lust after her. You still can wrongly want to satisfy yourself and say, well, that's okay because that's my wife.
Right, and I don't
but
think
that's not okay.
I know it's not okay.
Right,
I don't think so.
All right.
It's not okay.
All right, so Brandon said it's not okay. So we're going.
So you have a wife and you can't lust after her?
Well, let's think about it. Go ahead.
I don't know what the hell there is to think about. If that's the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, and I'm committed and only having sex to her, well, yeah, I'm going to lust after her.
Okay, but let's think about. Okay, so I agree with you. I lust after April, from time to time, and I desire her.
Try and open your mind up like me understanding the man pond. Yeah. Try and see that there be.
Yeah, maybe I'm not understanding it right. Okay. I don't know.
Brian's gonna come at this from a different way.
So now, so here I have my beautiful wife who I lust over. I think she's beautiful. I desire her. However, now all of a sudden, I find myself in a place where the only reason I desire her is to satisfy me. And every time I desire her, it's not to serve her, it's to satisfy me. Now I got a problem.
It should satisfy both of you.
Okay, I get that. But let's face it, if we're true, that most people that are sexually active are looking to satisfy themselves or gratify themselves. That they get a feeling. I now have a desire, and now I have to gratify that desire. So when that happens, now
if it's mutual, what's the problem?
Well,
nothing.
Nothing.
That's not a problem.
Well, nothing inside of a marriage relationship.
So what's wrong? So when she lusts after you, so that's wrong then?
No, not inside of the marriage context.
All right, let's put it this way.
I'm not following here.
All right,
okay.
Listen. I'm gonna go with an example because I think this is very common in marriages. How many guys, when you can bring this up at your circle, then you have your meeting at the plumbing place, right? How many guys are you in a relationship for 15, 20 years, and you're like, hey, Frida, let's get our freak on, and Frida's like, I don't feel good today, Ted. I don't think so.
Which is fine.
Now the male gets frustrated,
right?
And then let's say it goes on. Let's say it's weeks.
Yeah.
Let's say it's months. We know this isn't uncommon. It's a common complaint of marriages.
So then the guy ends up
whatever that
beating himself off.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Parental discussion is advised.
Parental, no, we're not.
No, but listen,
we're going to cut this.
But see exactly what you're saying. But doesn't that then become
a
manifestation of self gratification because you can't control? You're not allowing Christ to be the fulfiller and the completer of your life, and you're not following the command of the vow that you made. You're now feeding yourself, and that's where it starts. Is you have the idea.
So then you could do the same thing with your wife if she wanted whatever, and you're like, nah, let's hold out a couple more weeks.
In order to get back at her?
No, just in general.
Oh, no,
I'm not
if you were
feeling
doing this right, you would be able to say, you know what, you're right, no problem. And it could go for months. Because, and now the aggravation is gone, and now the wedge in the marriage is gone, because you've allowed Christ to fulfill your life. Is that what you mean? Like, you would be able to go, no, you're right, I don't need to either. Is that where you were headed, or no?
No, it's not where I'm headed.
So it was more like retribution? Like, nah, and I'm not with you either.
I'm starting to get lost here.
I know. It's a tricky subject.
Yeah.
Well, I think it comes down to this, that...
So you're basically trying to tell me that I would be fulfilling my own needs.
Well, I don't...
If she didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
and then we ended up doing it anyway.
Right, because the perversion is this, that sexuality in itself was created by God to be experienced within a loving marriage relationship. That's what sexuality was created for in the beginning, okay? Right. Then all of a sudden sin enters in Genesis chapter 3, and now sexuality has been perverted, and we see the perversion of it throughout the entire Old Testament and into the New Testament. So, and the reason I brought this up is because perversion does not exist just in gay and lesbian relationships. It doesn't exist just in adultery. It can exist inside of marriage. And the reason it can exist inside of marriage is because if someone inside of marriage, if their attitude is, this is all about my gratification, my satisfaction, then that sexual act can become, and Mitch even made the comment here, it can become selfish, and when it becomes selfish, that's a sin.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's all about me or whoever.
Right.
You would want to please both parties, I would think.
Yeah, that would be the good key, but then again, too, at the same time, and this is the different levels, like for me personally, I've been finding out in my walk with Christ that pleasing or gratifying the flesh, no matter what it is, food, sexuality, whatever that is not the end result of my life. And so for me, God has been trying to get me to see that there are so many perversions, even inside of the marriage relationship, that even inside of a marriage, I can be very selfish, or I can try to gratify myself in ways, whether it's food or my wife or entertainment or whatever that is. And God's saying, that's not what I created you for.
Right, and so I'm a hypocrite over here with the food. You know, like, if we're not going to go to church because there's hypocrites in the church, I personally would love for, and then I'm going to go to kind of change the subject a little bit, I'd love for Mitch to come to the church, but he's essentially saying he's not going to come to the church because I'm fat. Because I am kind of a hypocrite, right? Right?
Yeah, that's true, man.
I like to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this all goes with, this then comes down to self-satisfying in whatever manner you're doing it in. Mm-hmm. That's where and the Bible clearly calls us to deny self. And when we really think about what that means, it's on all levels.
Right.
And that makes us all hypocrites.
Yeah. So
it makes us all sinners.
Each other, it's okay.
Well, here's the thing. When you say it's okay, I don't know if it's okay because I don't know the hearts of those people. But I think as a whole, if you have a married couple, husband and wife, and they are mutually, in this together, then I think it's okay.
Let's not make a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah, but they have to decide personally between them and God and their relationship with God whether it's okay.
This is more like a thought-provoking idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's a true principle, but it's not like something to drive home and stew over and think that like your life is ruined.
Like, for instance, if you thought to yourself, like if I said, Brian, all you think about is Oreo cookies all day long, and all you want to do is eat Oreo cookies, would you say that would be a addiction or a problem in your life? Could that be
probably an addiction?
Okay, all right. So if all you think about is satisfying your flesh, and every time you see your
but
spouse,
it's not always about satisfying me.
Okay, I understand that. All right, but if it is, then I would say that you have to check. But see, this is coming from a mind that says, I want to live a life of obedience to Christ.
Right.
People who don't care about that, then who cares?
No, you go do the thing.
Go do what you want.
Because here's the thing.
You do you,
right?
And don't worry about anything else.
If you're not going to follow Jesus, this is one of my favorite things to say. If you're not going to follow Jesus, the institution of marriage is the dumbest thing ever devised. It's crazy. It's such impossible hard work.
Yeah.
That why even bother?
Yeah.
If you go live in the world, go do it all the way, right?
I think it was Jonathan Edwards, if I remember right, one of those old time guys that said, "Listen, if you're going to sin boldly."
Sin boldly. Yeah.
You know, we'll take that for what it's worth. But we have gone way over today. It is 11:20.
Are we punching out?
I don't know if we need to punch out. We probably should get going. Maybe some of us should
talked
get to
with
work.
Garrett for 2 hours.
Yeah, I did.
He's going to think I don't like him.
Yeah. Is Garrett still on today? No. Only a couple people. Just Joe and Mitch and Carol watching. I asked Mitch to come on sometime. Maybe we'll get him as a video guest.
We should do that.
We'll
we should
bring him on as a video
we
guest.
should make the Google work.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do, I think. Of course, I'm saying that, and then I'll find out that there's all kinds of problems with it. So,
get
all
our
right.
Googler on.
So this is Friday, and we had a good time having you on, Brandon. And
Yeah,
talking
thanks for
with you.
coming.
But I think we're going to get out of here. And anything else you want to say before we go, Brandon?
I'm good.
Just that we confused Brandon on whether you should lust over your spouse or not. So
You shouldn't, because you're going to hell. No, I don't know. I don't understand that. So
Okay, so this is the fun thing. This is the fun thing from. I'll make this the closer. I get a kick out of because you identify a sin in someone's life, you're going to hell.
right.
Well, no, you're going to go to hell no matter what.
Well, I was kidding.
You're going to hell if you don't have Christ as
Correct.
the Lord of your life. So, because I sin constantly, regularly, habitual sinner. I am the picture of a church hypocrite.
which actually probably means that he is going to hell. Did I just pull that
That's
one?
so bad.
No, I'm just joking.
No. Hey, listen. If R.C. Sproul's like, if the Lord sees fit to save me. Actually, I watched an R.C. Sproul clip where he's like, there's two people in hell. There's the wailers and the criers, and there's the bitter gnashers of teeth. And he goes, if the Lord sees to put me there, I want to be a crier. Because the crier is sorrowful that they missed heaven, and they knew. And the gnasher of teeth and the belligerent is still the person fighting against God. Can't stand him.
Right.
I thought that was pretty amazing.
And, I think that's the difference, Matt. We talked about this Wednesday night at prayer a little bit. Some people are like, well, if I'm messing up, that means I'm going to hell. No, if you're messing up and you're pursuing God and saying, God, I don't want to mess up anymore. I want to follow you. I want to be there. That's the cry that God hears. That's
all I have. Listen, that's all I have to go on.
Yeah.
That's all I have to go on.
Because if we're honest, we all mess up.
Yeah. There isn't one amongst us that doesn't.
No.
So.
And that's why we need to have more discussions like this so that we can deal with some of that stuff.
All right. Another Friday.
Another Friday.
We are going to punch out. Have a good week.